Obviously, Matt has talked about the internal discussions and the amount of people that were sort of involved in turning Justin loose to this role. What was your input in terms of gauging his readiness to take this role on full time and what you've seen in him?
Well, as far as the internal discussions, I would just say just constant evaluation. And I'm sure from the outside it looks like things come to a head, but that's kind of what we do all the time. Is just talk about the evaluations.
Matt stressed the word growth with Justin as you've watched him through the regular season portion of things. Where have you seen the biggest growth in him?
Oh, the biggest, it's hard to say. I thought there was a very good jump in production at practice. You know, I guess I'm a little bit old school. I like to believe what I see. And so from the first start to the second start, and as we keep going, it just keeps getting better. And I just believe that what you see happen on the practice field is going to translate. You know, it's not always 100%, but I think the trends that you see on the practice field are what you can believe in.
Bill, particularly with Justin Fields' running ability.
Sorry, I was looking at the wrong person because the mask's on. No,
Particularly with Justin Fields' running ability, what's the balance for you between what you envision him to be as a quarterback and that having been part of his success to this point?
Well, I probably don't spend as much time as maybe some would think of envisioning the big picture. You know, not that we don't take into account all that he can be in the long term, but really we're way more in depth with how about this week? You know, how are we going to play this week? Do we think part of the running is going to be a big part of it or not? And we've had some times if you go through the preseason where he has more or less. Some of it has been designed and some of it has been unscripted, which is part of the NFL. And so it sounded like your question was more big picture, and really right now we're trying to win this game. And so I think we did what we had to do last week. We did our best to decide what we thought it was going to take to win that game, and that's kind of where we go next.
That question could apply in terms of short term with this game or with the season itself. I mean, is there some of it that you want to coach out of him and some of it that you want to embrace and embolden in him, or where do you find the line?
I don't think of any coaching out of him. I think there will I would imagine. I'm not gonna predict. I will imagine there will always be some QB run involved in some degree. Some weeks it might be 2 plays. Some weeks it might be 8, whatever it is. Designed QB runs will be part of the game, and then there will always be some unscripted. For whatever reason, it was time to go. Part of his game could be designed rollouts where he has run pass options, or it could be that the pocket broke down. So, but to say you're coaching it out of him, I think is wrong. I think as he gets experience, he's going to decide split second. I'm hanging in here for this one because I know this play and I think it's about to come open. I can anticipate it, or you know what? I don't like how it looks. I feel like I can go and get it. And that's his whole career. He'll be balancing those things, but he's not unique to that. They all have to, right? And the only thing that he's, I don't want to say unique, but on a certain end of the spectrum with is how productive he can be when he does go. So he'll just always have to deal with that, which I'm sure he did in the past.
How much do you take his?
How cognizant have you found the defense to be with his legs?
Oh, every defense will take a little different approach. Every defense. So when you watch, you know, the Raiders, you know, you watch the teams they've played and what approach have they taken with quarterbacks who can't run. You go back to their coordinator's history. I've coached against them before. What approach has he taken with quarterbacks that can run? It's not like there's only one way for him to do it. There've been a couple different things that have shown up, and so you just try to make your best prediction. And some defenses are going to try to hem them in by either blitzing off the edge or keeping the defensive ends high up the field. Others are going to use secondary players or linebackers who line deep off the ball when the end's chased, and to wrap over the top for them. And they're going to be a bunch of different plans. So when you have a guy who can be that productive, sometimes you'll never really know till game day. Then once you see it, say, okay, this is how they're going to do it, and then you just have to have good answers.
Target volume's down for Allen Robinson this season. I understand you only had 17 pass attempts last week, but is that something you envision changing or picking up in the weeks ahead?
Getting the ball to the best players, and how many times we have when we go down when we do the game plan, lay it out. Multiple times we stop and just evaluate best case scenario. Who do we think the ball's going to? Which you can at least say who's number one in the pass game. You can't always guarantee it's going there, right? But you can say who are we kind of designing it for? We just evaluate and we keep our balance kind of where we think it should be. That doesn't guarantee those plays are going to get called in the game in that order, right? You don't call them all. So that's always part of it. But winning is number one. The who gets the ball is way down the list. And I'm not going to say no that everyone should just ignore it because it's obviously natural. And guys want to compete. And guys who know they're good players want to have the ball in their hand because they think they can help us win. And we want that. They're competitive. But it's just, if you keep winning number one, then that's got to be way down the list. And that's just how it goes. And I mean, you started your question with the asterisk of how many balls we've been completing, not many, or attempting. And so when you throw 50 in a game, there'll be more targets. And I think everyone's happy we won this last game. We chose the way that we thought we could win this game, and we did that. So now we got to figure it out for the next one.
So when you meet with him and try to go through what he's most comfortable with, Justin Fields I'm talking about, does he want to do more than you guys, quote unquote, allow him to do? Like, is he aggressive in those meetings?
I guess it probably doesn't paint a clear picture of the meetings. It's more talking. It's not about more. Hey, coach, how many throws am I going to get? It's not like that. It's more. Okay, we've spent all week talking about their defense and the ways you want to attack it, and it's very much specific. As I go through these lists of plays, I feel great about how this has looked in practice. I like how this receiver runs this route. This hasn't really quite come up, so maybe it's on a Thursday like today, or even after practice on Wednesday, and we watch the film. The feedback could be as informal as, hey Bill, if we get another rep at that in practice, I might feel better about it. Or if we get another rep at that in practice, can we do it against their man coverage? I mean, it could be real informal. It's not like a big everyone sit down, get your pens out. Justin's going to tell us what he likes, or it's more constant throughout the week. There are times when we sit down and talk about specific areas, and I think for a rookie, he's impressed in how open he's willing to be. Sometimes young players aren't open, like they don't want to. Sometimes young players don't want to tell you they don't like something because they might feel defensive, as if, the coaches are going to think I can't get it. Justin's very open, and he'll say what he does and doesn't like, and then what we have to ask is for him to say, okay, this play hasn't looked good on the field yet. Let's come back to it next week and try because we think it fits our players or something. And so he says, yeah, let's give me some more looks at it. So he's been very open. So I think that's been good. He really isn't. I don't know how much you know Justin. He really doesn't get defensive. He's willing to be coached, and I think the quarterback room that we have right now has helped that because you got some really good people in the room. They don't have to put guards up against each other. Coach DiFilippo, I think, fosters that, but I think it speaks to the character of the people in the room, right? Obviously today you'd have to say Andy's character because Andy's in a position where, he can handle a lot of different ways, and the character of the people in the room have made it such that they can. Hey, we all know all throughout the year what situations we go through. There's no secrets, and so just lay it all out there and be honest and help each other. That's what we're doing. So,
Bill, Matt mentioned yesterday that with some of those deep shots you guys were taking and completing, that he admitted he was on the headset saying, "Hey, keep doing it, keep it rolling." Just curious how you felt like that communication went throughout the game with him and you calling the plays, and then in general, just how you always handle that balance between, obviously the head coach is always going to give input, but you have the autonomy, or what your autonomy is to call the plays.
I give all the credit to Matt, how he handled the week, really. Everything from the private communication, the private conversations he and I had, to the way he laid out for the staff and then for the team, the vision of how he wanted it to go forward. I mean, that's where it started. And so I thought that was the key to the week, was Matt's vision of how he wanted everything to go, everything from what he wanted what he thought the game plan should be, to how he wanted to handle game day. And so our communication was in depth all week, honest. I mean, we've been around each other enough now that we're both handle situations in an adult manner. In other words, just say it, don't keep it inside. Just let's just be open and talk through tough, sensitive areas. So it was an easy week, and then we just kind of continued it on game day. When he has opinions, he gets 51%. It's easy. It's not hard for me if you know who's in charge, and it's easy.
You also said how much he loves your cool, calm, collected demeanor in the headset. You take pride in that kind of thing?
I think of myself, A long time ago, I had a coach I worked for who was a veteran coach. I'd say of all the people I ever worked with or for, he was the offensive coordinator, but his name was Don Bro. And he had coached at University of Texas for Darrell Royal. And Don would get excited. Of all the people that I'd coached with, and I've coached with some excellent coaches, all great human beings. And a lot of them, at the time I coached for them, were older. I guess just the way it worked. Coach Gibbs and his whole staff had come out of retirement. Coach Bro was the offensive coordinator. He told us he was very excitable. Don was on game day, whatever. And so he told the story. He was at the university. I think he was with Coach for Darrell Royal. I think I probably should have looked it up before I tell the story to make sure I'm right. But he's on game day. The play happened, and he was yelling on the headset. The coach said, Don said, Coach, it should have been interference or whatever he was yelling at. He was yelling, and I said he was old. He still is. He said, Don, do you know that we put a man on the moon? He said, I got quiet. I said, yeah, Coach. He said, Don, when he was talking back to Houston, he was talking just about like I'm talking to you. He had a hell of a lot more on the line than football. That was a good lesson. Don told the story. He's the one that needed